We have a lot of stories we're tracking, including an absolute bombshell on Trump's alleged criminality. This is an important one. Don't be fatigued just because these stories come out a lot. This one has the evidence on paper. Donald Trump demanding the DOJ overturn the election in ways that experts and people with government experience are calling a, quote, coup attempt. Tonight, we see just how far the pressure campaign got because it went deep inside the Justice Department. These emails, newly released and first obtained by ABC, show DOJ officials rejecting this attempt within the building, within the DOJ, within the Trump administration, to pull off what some are calling this coup, their colleagues' request to intervene in the certification of Georgia's election. A top DOJ official had tried to draft a letter, and this is truly damning. I use my words carefully here, and I want to tell you, this is not something we've seen before at this high level inside the DOJ. I'll read to you what you see here. It's very clear. They wanted to do Trump's bidding and say the governor of Georgia should immediately call a special session to consider the important and urgent matter of trying to overturn what the voters there decided, to overturn Georgia's results, to have basically a legalistic or state-run coup out of the DOJ. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Ari, that looks really bad. That's certainly worse than anything we've seen from inside the DOJ. This is separate from what was happening outside the buildings, if you will, on January 6th. This is the secret stuff. This is the stuff that Trump might have hoped wouldn't come out soon, wouldn't come out tonight, wouldn't ever come out, perhaps during his life. Now, that letter was never sent. A different DOJ official had to go to the mat to stop what was this secret attempted coup, according to some government experts, saying in an email, there is no chance I would sign this letter or anything remotely like it. And we reported as recently as last week that Donald Trump had this pressure campaign in the DOJ, that we were learning that he was asking for this. We were learning about notes where he basically laid out the strategy, push the agitators from the outside, bring them in for January 6th, while also on the inside secretly try to get a government effort to have states overturn the vote. And had he gotten farther, this might have gotten a lot uglier. The new email about the votes in Georgia drafted just one day after that phone call that we mentioned that's been reported on in the print press. And there are more details emerging about how deep the Trump pressure campaign went. Politico has a story about a top DOJ official who was so concerned that Trump would continue down this path, and he was, of course, still president at the time, that he would fire his acting attorney general for not doing this. That official actually had a resignation letter, as did another top official. In other words, the DOJ, at this pivotal time, with a president in office who still has his hands on the military, still has his hands on the nuclear codes, they were preparing for what everyone would understand from the Nixon context could be another Saturday Night Massacre over this interference. Now, the new evidence comes while Trump is still, remember, under criminal investigation in Georgia for this related stuff. Now, we don't know from inside that probe how much they already knew about this or whether this assists the investigation. Trump DOJ officials also faced Congress this week. And on that, a story we've been following, we had one of the biggest newsmakers involved, the chair of the entire Judiciary Committee, Senator Durbin. Here's what he told me last night. Did then President Trump try to steal the election? And what witnesses and evidence is your investigation seeking?
Well, I can't answer that question until we finish our work. And our work involves documents, evidence that's been cleared by the Department of Justice, and very soon some interviews of key people. That will happen in the next few days and weeks.
That's on the record, and that's why it's interesting to hear from the senators doing these investigations the next few days and weeks. We should note that ABC News and the New York Times and other outlets that have obtained some of this information have gotten it, in part, they've said, from sources in the Congress because of those open probes. So for everyone who says, well, what's the point of all this and where do you go? Well, we can't prejudge what will happen in the criminal probe of Donald Trump in Georgia, which overlaps with these issues, and we can't prejudge how the investigative process is working. We can just see some of it working. Now, you take it all together, I just told you a lot. We're going to have experts break it down. But there's one expert who has been on this program before. He's not here tonight, but he did say in public exactly what he thinks this amounts to, and he's going farther than others in the past. Robert Reich, who is an author and a White House cabinet veteran, so he's been at the highest levels of government. He says it's time to make no mistake and treat this for what it was, quote, an attempted coup. Now we turn to our experts tonight, former federal prosecutor Joyce Vance and journalist and national correspondent for The Nation, Joan Walsh. Joyce, what is the significance legally and constitutionally of the fact that according to these reports and this written document, this pretty damning document, that Donald Trump got this far in finding some people at DOJ who wanted to basically abuse federal power to try to get a state, Georgia, to use its local Republican officials to steal the race there in the Electoral College?
This is extraordinarily significant just on the face of this written document, which tells us, I think, Ari, what we already suspected, what we already intuited from surrounding circumstances. But this is hard, undeniable evidence that there were folks inside of the Justice Department. And this individual, Jeff Clark, is someone that we know former President Trump had actually referenced in his phone calls with then acting Attorney General Rosen, and had said, well, I hear this Jeff Clark guy is good. Maybe he's somebody that I should bring on board. And now here he pops up with his own plan for circumventing the results of the election in Georgia. Ari, it's also important to look at this not as just a single moment in time, but as part of a long-standing course of activity by the former president that starts at least as early as when he's trying to get the Ukrainians to help him out to announce an investigation into Joe Biden, on through to the moment where he suggests that he should use COVID as an excuse to delay the election, and into his efforts to spread the big lie after he lost the election. This is a long-running, just standard of conduct by Trump that results in the attempted coup.